75,000 people accepted the buyout program. That's going to save millions of dollars for the American taxpayers, and that's exactly what we wanted.
You didn't want it to be extended by even a couple of days so that people were waiting for the judge's decision, could have had more time after that?
We put a deadline on it, and the deadline was reached. 75,000 people accepted the offer.
Amazing news! Honestly, better accept the buyout than getting fired.
Fox News alert, the Wall Street Journal is reporting the CIA has reportedly just offered a buyout to its entire workforce. Everyone in the agencies telling employees late today they can quit their jobs and receive about 8 months of pay and benefits.
That sounds like a great offer to me, honestly. I would take that. What about you?
Some breaking news at a Fox News alert now on that employee buyout program we were speaking to Karoline Leavitt about at the top of the hour. The number when we were speaking to her had been marked at 40,000 employees had decided to take the buyout. That number has now increased to 60,000. But there's a wrinkle because unions representing federal workers had gone to court in Boston saying that this was an unconstitutional move by the president to offer this buyout, that any buyout would have to be authorized by Congress. Judge George O'Toole, who's a federal district judge up there in Boston, has put a temporary injunction on the midnight deadline for employees to submit whether or not they're going to take the buyout. He has now extended that until Monday at the very
Completely ridiculous what these judges are doing. They are going against Trump, and that's not good.
Frankly, I think some of these judges are activists. They're acting outside of their capacity. They're the ones who have gone rogue in terms of restricting what the president can do. If he wants to offer a buyout to those who work in the executive branch, he should be able to do that, just like the CEO of any company would be able to do that. And so ultimately, I think that this probably happens, and there will be a fair number of federal employees who decide to take him up on that offer.
I think that's a good thing, but these judges are uncontrollable. Hopefully they will stop.
The real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority. We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law. And they have issued at least 12 injunctions against this administration in the past 14 days, often without citing any evidence or grounds for their lawsuits. This is part of a larger concerted effort by Democrat activists and nothing more than the continuation of the weaponization of justice against President Trump. Quick news flash to these.
I think these judges are completely out of line. People elected Trump to do great things, and they should let him do what he wants to do.
I'm interested in our moving away the people who have made really bad decisions. For example, on the nutrition guidelines, people who have, there's people at NIH that were involved in the amyloid plaque scandals that derailed Alzheimer's treatment for 20 years. It's all corruption. Those kind of people need to be moved.
Do you have a list of people that you already know need to be removed and quickly?
I have a list in my head, and we have a generic list of the kind of people that, if you've been involved in good science, you got nothing to worry about. If you care about public health, you got nothing to worry about. If you're in there working for the pharmaceutical industry, then I'd say you should move out and work for the pharmaceutical industry.
A lot of people are going to lose their job, but honestly, that's a good thing. It's going to save millions for the American people.
A judge has cleared the way for the buyout offer for more than 2 million federal workers, rejecting a lawsuit that had put that plan on hold, and scores of federal workers are already being fired. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is at the White House. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning. Well, dozens of lawsuits have been filed, but this does mark the first major victory for the Trump administration. A judge declaring that buyout program can move forward. And this morning, the offer is officially closed.
That's a good thing to hear, honestly. That's a great news.
With efforts to reduce the federal workforce, whether it's offering what we've called the buyout package or other efforts, do you have any concerns that there will be employees broadly across the federal government who might take that up? And they're a part of the many different ways that agencies protect the public, from food inspections to water safety to the air traffic
everybody's
controls.
replaceable, and we'll get very good people to replace them if it turns out to be more than we thought. It could be a lot, it could be a little, we don't know, but we'd love to have them leave. We're trying to remember this. We want them to go into the private sector. It's our dream to have everybody almost working in the private sector, not in the public sector. We have many people, very few people came to work. They were, it started more or less with COVID, but actually even before COVID. But it started with the COVID. They didn't come back. And then Biden let them get away with murder. And we had federal workforce, like 4% coming into the office. And that just doesn't work. People can say it does, but it doesn't work. You have to be unified in a group in the office. It's just, it was crazy. You don't know what they're doing. And then at some point, we may ask them to certify that they didn't have two jobs, meaning were they really getting a check from us, the government, and then were they also working a second job and a third job and, on government time? And many of them will say that they did, which is not legal, but it's a problem. It's a problem. No, we want to get that out. We want to clean it out. People have been trying to reduce federal government now for 40 years, 45 years, and they haven't been able to do it. And this is a way of doing it, I think, very nicely. It's sort of a buyout, too. I think we're treating people very good. But people don't come to the office. They won't have a job starting on that very special date. So we'll see how that works out. I mean, nobody knows how that's going to turn out. Everybody might show up to the office and maybe a large number won't show up. But if they don't show up, we've accomplished a very serious goal. We're trying.
I think Trump is doing great things, saving millions and reducing waste and fraud from the government. And it's going to save millions of dollars, honestly, for the American people. And that sounds great to me.
President Trump campaigned on reducing the bloated federal bureaucracy, making it more efficient, and part of that was reducing the size of the federal workforce. He has made a very generous offer to federal employees, unlike President Clinton, who came in and said to all the executive agencies, across the board, 4% cuts, you have to find how to reduce your workforce. President Trump instead made this incredibly generous buyout offer to effectively every federal employee except for law enforcement, border control, and defense, said, you can have a buyout. We will keep paying you for about 8 months, and you just reply on this email, I resign. So this was a pretty simple way to just get employees to resign voluntarily instead of having to make across-the-board cuts. Ironically, federal employees unions, who are supposed to represent the best interests of their members, are suing to block the buyout. This is ironic because all that's been put forward is an offer. Nobody has to take it. And so they're effectively saying, we don't want the carrot that you've offered us. We'd rather have the stick instead.
Yeah, it's sad to see. Honestly, I would take the buyout or I would get fired. So it's better take the buyout, in my opinion.
We have informed the federal workforce, which they've looked to do for many years, that if they're working for the federal government, they must show up to the office on time and on schedule. We don't want them.
That's the least they can do, honestly.
We don't want them to work from home because, as everyone knows, most of the time they're not working, they're not very productive, and it's unfair to the millions of people in the United States who are in fact working hard from job sites and not from their home. As federal employees, they must meet a high standard. They're representing our government, they're representing our country. If they don't agree by February 6th to show up back to work in their office, they will be terminated, and we will therefore be downscaling our government, which is something that the last 10 presidents have tried very hard to do but failed. Most of the people we're talking about have not been going to their federal offices in many, many years, from even before COVID. But they have nevertheless been paid. Some have worked, some haven't worked, and most of the studies say that some have just gone through the motions.
That sounds absolutely insane to me. How could people let that happen? Hopefully Trump is able to change that for the better.
We may ask these people to prove that they didn't have another job during their so-called employment with the United States of America, because if they did, that would be unlawful. As you understand, a lot of people are getting paychecks, but they're actually working other jobs, so they'll have to prove that to us that they weren't. In any event, we're requiring them to show up to work or be terminated. We think a very substantial number of people will not show up to work, and therefore our government will get smaller and more efficient, and that's what we've been looking to do for many, many decades, frankly.
Honestly, that sounds all great to me. But as you heard, already many people have been accepting the buyout. Already 75,000 federal workers have accepted it, and people are very, very happy. Let's hear Karoline again.
75,000 people accepted the buyout program. That's going to save millions of dollars for the American taxpayers, and that's exactly what we wanted.
You didn't want it to be extended by even a couple of days, so that people were waiting for the judge's decision, could have had more time after that?
We put a deadline on it, and the deadline was reached. 75,000 people accepted the offer.
Amazing. And I bet that this number, 75,000, is going to grow and grow and grow. More and more and more as more federal workers accept the buyout, basically leaving their job, taking the buyout, and never coming back to work again, looking for another job, honestly. That sounds great to me. It's gonna save millions for the American people. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think people should take the buyout and reduce the size of the federal government? I do believe so. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here as always. Click right there to watch the next video, and I will see you there. Bye bye for now.